The libs are coming for your parental rights. This viral clip, care of our friends at Libs of TikTok.
Let's talk about parental rights for a second, because it's become evident that it's being used currently in this fight against queer people, and especially queer kids, who need more protections than ever before. Like in Saskatchewan and in the US, parental rights are being used to thwart any rights of autonomy that the kid might have. And I'm sorry, but kids do have autonomy. We've already established this. For example, if a kid needs a blood transfusion and the parents don't want to, it's not the parent's right to refuse that blood transfusion for that kid because it is life-saving. In the same respect, if a kid only needs to use a different name and pronoun in school, there might be a reason, and a good reason, they're not coming out at home. And they need a safe place to be themselves. And so, to hell with this idea of parental rights when it comes to kids who have their own consent and their own bodily autonomy and their own autonomy to their personhood that need to be protected.
To hell with this idea of parental rights. Libs 2024. To hell with parental rights. Now, you might say, who cares? This is just some random weirdo, and that's true. But we see the same belief articulated by more prominent, less random weirdos. Here is AOC's take on the GOP's Parents' Bill of Rights proposal.
They are asking the Republican Party to keep culture wars out of classrooms. Our children need urgent and aggressive educational solutions. The American Library Association coming out against this Republican proposal. When we talk about progressive values, I can say what my progressive value is, and that is freedom over fascism.
Okay, but it's AOC, you might say. Everyone knows AOC is on the fringe. Yeah, sure, maybe. But then, here again, we have an even less fringe, even less random, even more prominent weirdo saying the same thing.
Rebecca put a teacher's creed into words when she said, "There's no such thing as someone else's child. No such thing as someone else's child. Our nation's children are all our children."
No such thing as someone, meaning there's no such thing as your child. They're all my child, me, Joe Biden. The libs are coming out in full force against parental rights. They view the family as the final impediment to their agenda. On the bright side, this is the best line of attack that the GOP currently has. Parental rights is exactly what gave Republicans Virginia. It's exactly one of the reasons that Ron DeSantis has been so popular in Florida. The libs know that dismantling the family is unpopular, but they also know that they've got to do it to seal their power. And the scary thing is, despite the unpopularity, they've already been pretty successful at doing just that. Right now, go to hallow.com/Knowles. There is no better time to build a daily habit of prayer and meditation. Building a habit of prayer can help you cultivate an attitude of gratitude. Focusing on what you are thankful for can increase positive emotions and improve overall well-being. Also, you owe prayer to the Lord your God, so you need to pray. Hallow is the #1 Christian prayer app in the United States. It has helped countless people maintain a daily prayer routine, and it can help you too. Download the app for free at hallow.com/Knowles. You can set prayer reminders and track your progress all along the way. Not sure where to start? Check out Father Mike Schmitz's Bible in a Year, my favorite podcast, available on the Hallow app for brief daily readings and reflections, or pray alongside Mark Wahlberg, Jim Caviezel, and even some world-class athletes. With Hallow, you can customize a personal prayer plan that works for you. Listen wherever you are with downloadable offline sessions. Using Hallow to connect with others who share your beliefs and values can provide a sense of belonging, support, and foster a sense of community, and you will learn to be a better person in today's broken world. Right now, go to hallow.com/Knowles. Try 3 months for free. Hallow.com/Knowles. We've got an update in the Congressman Jamal Bowman case. Congressman Jamal Bowman is the man who is a Democrat from New York, and he pulled a fire alarm to stop the House from voting on a continuing resolution. And then he lied about it. And he said, "Oh no, I was just trying to open the door. The signs were really confusing, and I didn't know." So this excuse fell apart pretty quickly when we saw the alleged signs. There's one that says emergency exit only. It says Emergency exit only. Push until alarm sounds. Door will unlock in 30 seconds. Yeah. And so, but it says alarm will sound, emergency exit only, don't go out this way. So unless Congressman Jamal is completely illiterate, it's not convincing that he would have not known what these signs meant. But then what's weird is in the picture, we have camera footage of him pulling the alarm. He's not standing in front of those signs. The signs are nowhere really to be seen in that picture. Apparently, it's because he knocked the signs down. And then he's not pushing on the door. He's just pulling the fire alarm on the wall. So he couldn't even pretend as though he thought it was just a way to get through the door. He turned and pulled the fire alarm there. Furthermore, the way that you know his excuse is complete BS is because he didn't even go out those doors. Congressman Jamal apparently ran out through a different door on a different floor because he didn't want to get caught because he didn't realize that they had cameras in the U.S. Capitol. Tells you a lot about the caliber of Democrat congressman. So this totally fell apart. And now what are the Republicans going to do? If the GOP does not vote to expel this man from Congress, this man who did a much more egregious insurrection than anything committed by the hornhat guy or the Midwestern grannies or the lectern fella from Florida smiling for the camera, Congressman Jamal Bowman, if any of those guys are guilty of insurrection, Bowman is guilty of it 20 times over. If the G does not expel him from Congress, GOP is in charge of the House right now, then the GOP is just completely impotent. It's just completely pathetic. Bowman, for his part, is now in damage control mode. So he sent out this messaging, according to Politico, which blamed everything on the Nazi Republicans. And he said, we've got to stop these Nazi Republicans from trying to make a big deal over my pulling the fire alarm and obstructing an official congressional proceeding. When Politico reported on the Nazi memo, Congressman Bowman then backtracked. And he denied having sent out the guidance. He said, I just became aware that in our messaging guidance, there was inappropriate use of the term Nazi without my consent. Without my consent. I condemn the use of the term Nazi out of its precise definition. It is important to specify the term Nazi refers to members of the Nazi Party and neo-Nazis, which would be a lot more convincing if Congressman Jamal Bowman had not called me a Nazi on Twitter back in March. So back in March, after I gave my CPAC speech where I said boys and girls are different, and Congressman Jamal tweets out and says, this is a direct quote, Michael Knowles is a Nazi hell-bent on keeping only white men alive and in power. And then he went on and on and on. So here, Bowman insinuates, I would never use the term Nazi if I weren't referring to German soldiers from the 1940s. This happened without my consent. I completely disavow this. I would never do such a thing. It's terribly offensive. Oh, yeah? Well, was it also accidental and non-consensual when you called me a Nazi on Twitter? The tweet's still up. Was that still an accident back in March? I don't know that I believe that. Are you going to disavow that, Congressman Bowman? Are you going to apologize to me? Are you going to apologize to everyone for that awful decision, no doubt made by some low-level staffer, to call me a Nazi for saying the He just keeps digging. This is a guy who is not thinking strategically. And this is one of the reasons also not to lie. It's bad to lie because lying is a sin and can condemn your soul to hell. And you shouldn't do it for that reason because it offends God. But another reason, even if you don't believe in God and you don't care about your soul and if you're just in politics, another reason not to lie is you're going to get caught. It's especially when you're lying publicly to the media, in the age of Twitter where there's a tweet for everything, you're going to get caught, man, especially if you're not necessarily the sharpest tool in the shed, when you're not maybe the most high-level Machiavelli, Metternich kind of political strategist out there. And then you start spinning all these lies and denying and backtracking, and you're going to get caught. And so probably what would serve Congressman Bowman is for him to stop speaking immediately, 2 days ago probably. But this is a real crime. It's not just that he called me a Nazi or he called Republicans Nazis and he's lying about it. And that's a little bit of a political scandal. Obstructing an official congressional proceeding, after the Democrats have spent the last 2 years whining and crying and screaming about how January 6th was basically, the shots fired on Fort Sumter. Give me a break. If the GOP does nothing here, if the GOP doesn't seize on this advantage and expel this Looney Tune from Congress, then what do we have the GOP in Congress for? Boy, what a great clip that was. Now, make sure that you ring that bell, subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. See you next time.